everyone, a very, very exciting, super warm welcome to TechDive 4. That's what is so exciting for us at EyeROV. When we came together 5 months back, one of the key objectives of EyeROV was, especially in India, but not said that globally, there's a lot happening in marine robotics, technology, innovation, but there's rarely or very less platform or a space that gives all innovators, innovations, robotics, you name it, from the sectors of different sectors, to have the space where they can confidently come to share, learn, and become a part of an ecosystem within an ecosystem. TechDive is not series. TechDive is a movement. Movement launched and initiated by EyeROV to make an impact that nurtures, cares, and enables technologies, conversations that will bring India on the map in such a place that tomorrow, very soon, we will be seen as one of the biggest and the most important power in the sector. And that movement has been rolled out by this young team of EyeROV, together led by its marketing team, with all its pros and cons. We have stood by it, and today at EyeROV, when the team comes at TechDive, the EyeROV team is not representing EyeROV. We are here to learn, we are here to give, we are here to enable, and we are here to take TechDive as a global brand for this ecosystem of marine robotics. So once again, with a warm heart and a super innovative conversations coming with a panel that is so experienced and so ready to bring the best takeaways for all of you. Now, the question is yours. My grandmother would always say this: you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink the water. TechDive has enabled to bring you the best session now. But it's up to you now to take the best out of the session from the panel and make this your pivotal moment in the coming years. So with that, let's get started. Once again, a very warm welcome. And before I jump in, as always, keep your videos on and audio mute. And please do talk and ask questions when it's opened up for it. During the debate or the conversation, if you have questions, you don't have to wait for it. You can put it on the chat. My team member, Melbourne, will definitely, take those questions at the Q&A session. So with that, a very big start now. And I would request the 4 panelists, the 2 team members, Team Wave Makers and the Team Anchor Points. I would want you, all 4 of you, to unmute, and I request you all to just say a very good welcome note of a minute, and we could go forward with the introductions of the panel and the theme.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Rear Admiral Nirmal Menon, and I'm excited to be here for the TechDive session. And I'm hoping also to learn what are the requirements in the field. I'm a retired naval officer, naval architect, and a designer. I've headed the submarine design for about 4 years before I retired.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yours. Go ahead.
Okay. So we teammates got together. That's okay. So yeah, myself Kannappa. I am the technical director and co-founder of EyeROV Technologies. So by profession, I've been with EyeROV and I've been building things for the past 8+ years, and by experience, about 14 years of professional experience. And I am basically an ocean engineer. Mechanical engineer with masters in ocean engineering. Yeah, that's about me. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm Commodore Arun Golaya. I took premature retirement from the Navy last year. Before that, I was handling innovation for the Navy when TDAC was set up under the Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization, the Technology Development Acceleration Cell. I was the founding officer in charge.
Excellent. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, John.
I'm Johns. I'm CEO and founder of EyeROV. I have a background in electrical engineering. I did my master's in electrical engineering and then went on to work with a couple of companies before Samsung and Grey Orange Robotics, and then went on to start the company in 2017 along with Kannappa.
Mind. Let's make the most of it. And I would quickly like to take you on the topic of what we are going to speak today. And to everyone here, let's be very clear here. Though we say it's a debate, though we say that we have teams, the objective here is that the concept, the thinking of taking the best out of this section is what we need to do. And that's why I'm going to open this floor for all the 4 panel members to take it in a flow that they think best right to give us as value from this. So the topic today is very exciting and excellent, right? It is unmanned marine robotics who are making waves in defense circles. But are they truly poised to rewrite the rules of naval warfare? Or are we getting ahead of ourselves? As we always most often do, right? That potential is electrifying. The drones sweeping for mines, ROV mapping hostile seabeds, and autonomous vehicles patrolling dangerous waters without risking a single sailor. Yet, behind every dazzling headline lies a deeper question, which we all know. Whenever we read headlines, we have this question in our heads. Can these machines carry the same resilience, trust, grit that a human life have long shouldered at sea? The real challenge is finding out the fragile, sweet spot where bold innovations meet the unforgiving realities of saltwater, cyber threats, and contested seas. Marine robotics might well be the next game changing face multiplier. But until they prove themselves consistently under fire, the debate over here, the ultimate role will remain as deep and uncertain and dynamic as the oceans. They are designed to master because at its heart, this is the most and just about technology. This is not about technology. It's about lives it seeks to protect and the future that we all dare to shape. So, with that, the floor is for the panel members. Let's do this. Over to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Please go ahead, Nirmal sir. Would you take the lead?
Yeah.
No, let Arun take on.
Yes, please.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
As ordered, sir.
Golaya.
So I shall take on, sir, and I shall not be. I think all of us are aware fairly well about what the limitations of the technology presently are. So I'm speaking for the motion, but what I'm saying is realistically, all of us know that we have a lot to achieve. We have a long way to go. But having said that, the basic point being debated here is it overhyped? And I would say that if anything, it is underhyped. Hype helps, and we need more of this hype for the next wave of innovation to come. And I will tell you why we do not have a choice. So if we see a map, because a picture they say conveys 1,000 words. Can I just request Salma if you could just put the map?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So the map is the Indian Ocean region in the entrance, the choke points as you call it, in the Indian Ocean region. So first, I will talk from the military perspective. Now, whoever your potential adversary is, which all of us know who it is, now that's a country which is
Just a
outbuilding
minute.
outbuilding all the navies in the world possibly combined. So you cannot obviously get into a battle of attrition with them. You have to always identify what your advantage is and then capitalize on that advantage. Our advantage is a geography. So if you see this, this is a screenshot from the Ensuring Safe Seas, the Indian Maritime Military Strategy, which is available online on the naval website also. So if you haven't seen it, you must see it. These are all the choke points, the Malacca, the Sunda, Lombok, Mumbai Vetar. So if somebody has to come from here, these are the choke points where they can be identified and targeted, right? Now, if you have to do that, what would you use? Would you use low cost expendable systems or would you be using your capital warships? And the low cost expendable systems, if you're talking about the very fact that they're expendable, means there cannot be any life on it first. So it has to be unmanned. Second thing is the range of the weapons does not have to be, what of a conventional ship would be. Uh, Even if it is just outranging the guns, not the missiles, you pose a decision dilemma for the adversary. Either they use the missiles, which are more expensive than the targets which they're seeking to destroy, and finish off your missiles before you enter the arena of operations. But that obviously is not. So you're creating a decision dilemma. So I'm just giving one example, but what I'm saying is if our strength is our geography, and if that can be best exploited by unmanned systems, and it is not only about military application. There are lots of applications, even dual use and civil. Now, once the technology comes up, the rest of the things will follow. So I would just say hype helps. Hype is important, and if anything, this thing is underhyped. Even though being aware of all the limitations, we need to move much faster. If not totally unmanned, then manned unmanned teaming is certainly what the future will look. And when I say future, the future is already here. It's not a distant future we're talking about. So with that, sir, I have made my opening remarks and ready to battle it with the team anchor points.
Would you
Yeah,
like me
okay.
to keep the? Sorry, would you like to keep the image, sir?
No, that's fine. You could remove it, please. I just wanted to show the 2 points.
Perfect.
Well,
Yeah, I think the map and the explanation given by Arun is helpful as a starting point. But what we are looking at is even for a country like India, we are not limited to only our shores. We are looking to be a global power, and we need to be ever seen and visible all over the world. And in that context, what I see is that the application of most of the unmanned systems or the autonomous systems is largely confined for many applications at the coastal levels. So therefore, as a blue water navy, we would like to be able to have far greater reach, and therefore we will need platforms of the larger size. Yes, these unmanned vehicles and autonomous vehicles can help in providing even better reach, by using your motherships, which can be deployed at sea, and these can be launched from there. But even with respect to whatever is the state of development on the underwater on these unmanned platforms are concerned, it's actually, if you look at it, it's a very, very beautiful time to be in if you are interested in these areas, because there are a lot of work happening over the last 15, 20 years in this thing. But we are yet to get a large platform to prove all its capabilities. I mean, there is work happening in many places the world over, including in India. And that's the thing. The catch in this whole thing would be that, first is normally you would start with a smaller prototype, you prove basic systems, then you try to make it larger and, for different applications. Now, from a design perspective, what is important is that you need to look at two things. Payload, that is, what are you going to carry? What are you going to do? What do you want to carry for that? And second thing is your endurance in terms of how long you have to be at sea and how far you need to travel. They become critical in terms of dimensions of your the platform itself. So with these considerations, you need to look at how far can I operate. Yes, all these choke points, if you have bases, you will be able to monitor it with your smaller platforms, but otherwise you need larger ships to monitor that. Now, even with respect to some of the elements which require development, things like your energy source, you need to have a good energy source with a lot of energy density, but at the same time all these new technologies require high amount of battery management system. It is not a simple a normal plug and play type of batteries. Your communication, it's extremely important. You're not only on a solo trip outside. You need to be able to communicate to your entire network, and therefore development of communications become very, very critical. Another important aspect would be the sonar technology, because what we need to realize that unlike what we see in air, the conditions in the oceans are very, very different. You have different salinity, you have different temperature zones, and the way the acoustic waves or the sound waves travel are very, very different. So you'll never be able to, unlike most other systems where you can have a large amount of repeatability, such repeatability may not be possible when you're dealing with sonars. But of course, you need to do development and try and see how best you can work on those.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah, okay. I think we'll stop here and we can then continue further on and as more points come in.
Yes.
Your thoughts,
Yeah,
KP or John's?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yes.
yeah.
John, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thoughts in terms of unmanned systems, I hope many of you are already aware the recent geopolitical situations where you have seen bigger wars, particularly in the European region, bigger warship destroyed by unmanned vehicles, hardly probably 100 $200,000 worth equipments or unmanned vehicle destroying entire warships. So that is a level of impact which now is happening in the war, and we have seen $1 billion worth even aircrafts being destroyed by FPVs, which are uh, probably few hundred to $200,000 worth aerial drones actually. So the impact of this, what we see it unmanned systems, even if you say it is hyped, I think we have already seen the impact of this system in the recent wars. So I think it is for us to embrace the situation and then develop and leapfrog in this scenario. That is where I would see. And adding to some of my experience in this scenarios of unmanned systems, we have come across certain operations where it was very hard for a human to enter even. One of the incident was search and rescue application in mines, where people got trapped inside the mine, and it was difficult to send humans inside. And that is when unmanned robotic systems were deployed and used to find out the humans, and mostly for recovery option. And this has been quite useful, and I believe uh, it is going to be more used in the coming days. And of course, as Arun sir said, it is an expendable option where it will be used for destroying huge, costly $1 billion worth assets by few $100,000 $200,000 worth expendable products. So I think it will give an upper hand to uh, the forces which is having the most number of these kind of technologies developed. Thank you, and that's from my side.
Great. Yeah. So thanks. I think I got all the thoughts. So some of the areas what I would like to also be in continuation with what Nirmal sir also shared is something is about the communication point. So that is one of the key challenges when as we try to expand more and more on unmanned systems. That is one of the areas where we should also focus, as we are building more and more unmanned systems. So the counter unmanned systems are also getting built into the industry. So as we are looking at a larger uh, space like naval warfare, or for that sake any technology to grow into something like a I would say game changer. So it needs to survive those phases where it can overcome the counter measures and then still be effective over a long run. So here when it comes to wireless technologies or unmanned systems, which are mostly dependent totally on wireless systems, there are already active countermeasures being built into the space. So that is one side also we need to evaluate how it is coming up, and how we can effectively work around that or make it more resilient to those kind of interferences. That is one way of looking at it. And yes, there are possibilities like wired systems can still survive to but then the range is limited. So this kind of I would say uh, uh, I would say some balances to be made, or as we said, there is advantage, at the same time there could be related limitations to those system. Okay, so that's one of the thoughts I would like to present. And one of the other area which definitely, like, I would call it more like a, not an independent all autonomous, but the thought process would be like something like, what brought from the discussions with Nirmal sir is like the hybrid systems, where even the manned systems could be the mother vessel or the key systems, which could help in extending the range of the autonomous systems, so that they don't have to be large enough, but they can be more agile and be active on the floor, but doesn't need to be so large enough that then it becomes like another larger investment. Yes, the human dependency and the risk of people on board gets reduced with autonomy, but at the same time I feel like there is some decision making that is often over and above the autonomy part. So if it is a fast decision making, yes, you have autonomy building there, which are getting better and better of making split second decisions and then precision attacks. But whereas it come to a human oriented judgment, there we need to have a human, whether on the loop or outside the loop. So that is another perspective of when you actually build and propel a large, I would say, future of autonomous platform. Or that's where I rest my thought. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
That
Yes.
was an excellent thought that you floated, that in the end it comes down to the human intervention. So let's ask the visionaries, do they agree to this, or do they see this as yes? Arun sir, the floor is yours. We were waiting
So,
for you to raise the hand. Go ahead, please.
I will just make two, three quick points.
Yes.
First point, I don't think it is anybody's case that it is either this or that. Nobody is saying that, do away with the Navy, do away with the capital platforms and have unmanned systems. As we all, I think, will agree, it's a question of manned, unmanned teaming, and increasingly the component or the part unmanned will go up, and I think that's inevitable. There's a very interesting paper which was written by a US Navy captain, which was, and in fact, I don't remember the name of the paper, but you could Google it, you'll find it, where he spoke about the concept of a bimodal navy. So, where he said that you need two kinds of navies, where, one navy is for sea control, while the other navy is for sea denial. And for years, the U.S. Navy was the unchallenged supreme navy, so to speak, globally, because the issue about global thing also came. Now, he said that this change in thinking, and this may be a view of a captain level officer, he said this change in thinking has been necessitated due to the rise of China as a near peer rival. Now, if the US Navy is talking about China as a near peer rival, I see no reason why we should not say that we cannot have business as usual. And that does not mean that we do away with our fleet. That means we will have not exactly a bimodal navy, but something akin to that. Take advantage of a geography, and which is what I wanted to show you there. So that's the first point I wanted to make. Second point, cliche, whether necessity is the mother of invention or invention is the mother of necessity. Both, I think. Now, if everybody is saying that, you need communication, yes, of course, communication is a problem. But unless there is a need for communication systems, and that need will come when the requirement of unmanned systems, which need to operate autonomously, batteries, battery management systems. These are not technical challenges which cannot be surpassed, but they'll be surpassed when money is put in. Money will be put in if there's a requirement. There will be a requirement if we agree that it is needed, for which, again, I would say more hype is needed. And the last point I want to make very quickly is, it may be a cliche again, but they say for computers, easy is difficult, difficult is easy. What's easy for humans would be very difficult for computers, and what is difficult for computers would be possibly very easy for humans. Calculating the 13th root of a 150-digit number would be almost impossible for a human. For computers, it's second, it's child's play, literally. However, climbing down the stairs, a flight of stairs, would be child's play, literally. A 3-year-old child can do it. But it is very, very high level technology as far as the autonomous system is concerned. Point I'm trying to make here is that if you see normally in warfare, it happened first ground, then sea, eventually air. In drones, it's happening the other way around. First, most commonly used are the aerial drones, right? Everybody would agree. Then we moved on to surface. Subsurface, yes, it is a long way off. Big platforms are a long way off. But the point is that the path, I think, is well set and it is inevitable. It has to happen. The easier you embrace change, the easier it will be for you to change. I rest my case. And I lower my hand also.
I think that's a
Okay,
brilliant thing
okay.
what you said.
Yeah, the point to note is, you see, for like what Kannappa also brought out, wherever you have jobs wherein a human is at risk, there is all the more reason that you have to go in for unmanned systems. In particular, let's talk about mines. You need to identify mines, you need to sweep the mines, you need to lay mines probably tomorrow. It's always fraught with certain amount of risk for the team that is going to do that. Okay, now for these, if you're going to have unmanned, transit vehicles which go and do this, even if any incident happens, the humans are not affected by this. So definitely, it is like exactly like what Arun said is that it's not a question of either or. It has to be it. There is a definitive need for such components to come in, but it has to be kept. The whole picture has to be looked at as to how they're going to operate within the scenario, who controls what, how much can you train your robotic thing, how much they need to be controlled, or how much inputs you need to further, make some changes to its operations. All those need to be also considered. The problem why this issue of hype comes in is wherein somebody develops a prototype and says I'm able to do. It may be a very basic thing that okay, it just goes from point A to point B, but then that gets projected as if it can do anything else with that. You just by just pulling it here and there. That's why I said even as you grow larger and larger, it is not a simple scaling. So you end up giving a lot of people idea who have problems with releasing money. You give them a feeling that yeah, why you want to go for a big platform where you can have 10 of these or 20 of these and we should be done with. That's where the balance has to be made. And I mean, like, you need to continue to maintain our platforms as they are in terms of numbers. You put this has to come from an additional budget, that is whatever you're doing development in the robotics area, and at a suitable time when you have matured in your technology and its operations, then you merge it and then you rehash what your requirements are. That's how I mean, so it is not a near thing. In my view, is that it's not a very near thing. It's going to take its time, and that's. But surely, I mean, at some point we need to get there, and definitely well before 47, we should be there. Before we are 100, we should be well settled in all these things.
Absolutely. Johns, would you like to add something? You've been very silent, you've been observing and listening, and I can see a strategy going in your mind. So please do share your thoughts. You're muted.
Yeah, some of the challenges when we talk about long range application and these unmanned operation can be overcome, which I've seen in the recent is swarm concept. Swarm concept is where you deploy probably 10 to even 50 to 100 kind of underwater even surface systems which can even communicate with themselves and even extend the range. I forgot what communication we had, but there is a communication mode where instead of directly conversing from the surface to one of the unmanned system, it can jump over and then communicate over larger ranges, and each of them will act as a repeater actually. So there are ways when you deploy this swarm concept. I believe many of these limitations in terms of covering large area and even in terms of communication and even missing out having redundancy and overlap in areas. I think swarm concept is something which is now emerging. I think many of the countries have already started in terms of unmanned surface vehicles, few hundreds of systems being deployed, even few unmanned surface vehicles, probably 50 of them deployed at a time and sweep the entire area. So that is something which I see a lot of things coming up in the future. So that's what I wanted to add in terms of some of the limitations, how we could overcome in terms of endurance or coverage of area. That is one thing I want. to. And I wanted to, since we all agree that it's not just unmanned, it is a combination of unmanned plus manned and how we can work together. So in that line, I would like to pose some uh, questions. How as India can leapfrog in unmanned systems? Uh, because we all now all agree that okay, it's a combination of both which is required. How India can leapfrog in unmanned systems? Where do we see gaps, and what can be done in the coming years? Where I want to slightly um, move the discussion forward in some direction, so that yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, what happens today is that I think many of the firms that work in this area, you find it easy to import many of your equipment, all these critical equipment. But what is really required, it is happening. I can assure you that it is happening, that we are getting a lot of development done in various places. Some firms, some academic institutions, and some DRDO, and so things are happening. Of course, somebody will have to get all of it, combine it, integrate them, and make it operate like a single unit. But there is a lot of work happening in this area, and we'll have to see. And I think the somewhere between DRDO and the Navy, somewhere some point we'll have to see how that will get passed on to all of you, so that then you can use those technologies and move ahead.
So I'm going to take cue from John's, and I'm going to just take 1 minute of the panel members here. I know all of you are so well closely knit with the vision for the sector and the industry that I'm going to play the devil's attorney here and kind of float a question which will, I would request the panel to stick with your teams and give opinion from the team itself. Coming from a deep tech, and I'm sure the EyeROV team also at that very early stages would have had this conflict, right? And I know I work with a lot of deep tech young entrepreneurs when they're innovating, and especially in a critical sector such as Navy, underwater, ROVs. There is this one set of founders, innovators who are visionaries, who just do not want to stop, right? They're always at a point where we do not need, it's a zero human intervention technology. Most often these young entrepreneurs, when they're out there, they do that. And then there are this place where all of you are coming from, that there has to be a balance, there has to be evaluation, there has to be some form of intervention that happens, right? But most often inventions happen when the visionaries cross boundaries, dare the darest, right? So where does this complete blind faith that my technology or our technology or this technology can do this without human intervention, especially in the sector, stops? And where does the sensibility comes that there is the dependency? And because it comes from a founder's perspective, I will further open it to KP to build on this thought, because as an innovator in IROV, I'm sure there were 100 times you thought, you know what, I don't need any divers going in, or I don't want to risk people's life because my technology can do that, right? But I know with time and with things and applications, that sensibility came in. So, being the skeptic here, as team that will always say that there is invention, opening it to add this thought and requesting the panel to take a little bit touch of a debate. Over to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Selma. So thanks for putting that direction. So yes, I will just take I just caught the keyword from Arun Golaya sir on the nature. Okay, so I'll just pull it from there. Okay, so what he said was that computing technology, whatever Max, everything was something that men had built over time, whereas what man had was he know how to walk. That is all natural, which was nature has built into. So for us the challenging factor in itself is nature only. So I will take the nature point, particularly when it comes to marine robotics. So it's definitely a very very unpredictable scenario very often, and it is quite very strong with its very corrosive environments, very strong unpredictable currents, very difficult in underwater communications. So this definitely as nature, okay, poses one of the major I would say challenge or roadblock on whatever the mega vision we are envisaging or trying to build. So I'm not saying it won't happen, but at present this is how the state of reality is. Often we are thrown it, even with the man system. I think you are all naval veterans, you know that any given day when we sail out also, we are always encountered with different environmental challenges. But yeah, with very consistent predictions now, we have overcome a lot. But still, underwater world is still having a lot of variables in it. So that's one of the, I would say, most challenging area where if it goes all autonomous, it has a lot of limitation in it. That's one of the areas what I would think, particularly because of the which I state it is connected to the communication aspect also, because having being all wireless, giving the decision making to the edge, that is edge computing, when the variables are quite large, and then still making a humanly sensible uh, decision when it comes to offensive systems. That's where it all gets very critical. So that's where I would like to take or put my case there. So nature and decision making and this demanding environment is still a challenge. That's where it is. Yeah. Yes.
To the team visionaries. Sir, Arun sir, this question to you. In your experience, in your journey, have you
So
ever come
let me
across? Yes,
so
please.
let me say this. Let me say this upfront. Any progress is made by mavericks, the people who break the rules. The people who follow the rules will never discover anything new. If you had asked just 10 years before the first flight of an aircraft, most people would have said that the Wright brothers are wrong, but wrong brothers were actually right. Whatever. The point is, I am saying the Wright brothers were right, and the time taken from the first aircraft getting airborne and man landing on the moon. Because Admiral Menon, you made this thing about DRDO, sir. Now, DRDO, I'm not playing down the DRDO. I've got nothing against the DRDO, but there are advantages which startups have, specifically agility and what she mentioned about, that uh, the founder's vision that ye to karna hi hai, ye mera hai, that might be lacking. There's some systems in DRDO, I will not name the systems now, from the QRs to the system getting inducted, the time taken was more than the time from the Wright brothers to the man landing on the moon. Those kind of timelines are just not acceptable, especially today when the technology is changing very fast. So I would say one word answer to your thing that uh, do mavericks matter? Do people who break the rules, go against the conventions matter? I would say they're the only ones who matter. They're the only ones who change.
Wow. That's a hard hitting. Before we open for questions, John, do you want to support your team member a little bit before we open it to the other team?
I think the reasons of very tough nature. I think it is more reasons than we deploy a human in these uncertain situations. I think it is more reasons to deploy a unmanned system in these uncertain waters. Actually, I think it's a good point for us to argue when there is challenging environments. The environment is unpredictable. More reasons to deploy an unmanned system than losing a human out there. I would argue that case.
Anchor points. You have a hard case to close before we open for questions. Over to Nirmal sir and KP.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So, since the point of unmanned, see, my one of the key takeaway, which I often repeated, is about the environmental restrictions. So, I would say that if you look at the technology, whether it has become like a force multiplier, has it grown so good enough to meet all the challenges at this present point of time? It is still in a growing stage. That's how it is now, particularly in this demanding environments. And whenever, even if it's reconnaissance, still it is, those tech are still acceptable. But when it comes to offensive, we need to be still more mature enough, or get matured enough, that wrong decisions can go even costlier. And equipment which was meant to you know close the war shouldn't be the equipment that actually initiates another. So that's
Wow.
that's the way we should look at when it comes to autonomous systems. That's how we case it. Yes.
Yeah, and the
Thank
other
you.
point is also this, see, all of these systems would be AI enabled. Now, AI needs to be having a lot of training. It's a question of how much you have been able to train your systems to identify all your permutation combinations and this thing. And even when we write what should be the, methods or the steps to follow, it is finally dependent on the man who's writing it.
Yes.
And if he is not so well versed and he decides, okay, this will also do, again, you could land up in trouble. So
Troubles.
we have to move with caution. I mean, see, the thing is this, that there are a large number of firms in the country today. I mean, based on my past, definitely 10, 15 years of experience, I can say they are doing fabulous work. Okay, the question is, okay, they have probably shown a certain technology that, yes, we can move on this technology. But the question is for us in the Navy also to accept that, yes, I can use this for these activities. How do I ensure all the other aspects? And then again, the problem comes, we are finally what you need to know is all this is coming from government funds. So they have their own procedures. You have a financial advisor who tells you do this or don't do this, or it goes against this particular regulations and all these things. So that is the catch in this entire thing when you want to go through this particular thing. That is why things like IDEX and all have come in to expedite these particular areas of innovation without going through those normal bureaucratic processes. But it is not, I mean, you need to work it. I mean, the firms have to work a better it, and I'm sure somewhere down the line it'll, fructify. There is no doubt in my mind about it. And people are, I mean, what you see now, particularly now, like after Ops on there's a lot more awareness of what can be achieved. While we may have inducted systems, there would always have been doubt in the minds of many that will it work? What will happen? Suppose it doesn't, because our thing is that, okay, it'll detect or it'll, camera this thing, it decoy something else and all that sort of a thing. It's all in theory and all these things. So we may have done our internal practice, but in a real war scenario, there are so many imponderables that you really don't know which is going to cause a different reaction of your systems.
Absolutely. Excellent thought. It's at a high point. Let's hold the high point when the questions come. These
Sure.
conversations will keep going, but please do stay advocates to the teams that you have chosen. Despite I know you would have 100 things to say on the other side, coming from the experience that you have. But let's do what we've signed up for. Melbourne, today we are going to first open for some questions from online. I'm sure I've been seeing a lot of inboxes coming in from LinkedIn. First question from the LinkedIn series. Please go ahead, Melvin.
Yeah, okay. So the first question is that how can these robots make naval operations more safer for people, for these divers?
Yeah.
So the question comes from a point of like, is there any forecast or, a vision that all of you, this question is for all the panel members, foresee that we can make it more safer, more secured, and more, what you say, easy for the human intervention which exists today. So over to the panel. You're muted, sir. Arun, sir.
Okay, so I commanded INS Nirikshak, which is a diving support vessel, and at that time the only submarine rescue vessel of the Indian Navy, INS Nirikshak. You can Google it. Now, having worked quite closely with the divers, I have a question. Not many people know this. In fact, I tweeted about this last week. There's a term called aquanauts. Like you have astronauts, you have aquanauts. Now, more people have gone to space. More humans have gone to space than have dived more than 200 meters deep.
Yes.
So, if the question is that, why, the thing is that because you can't go more than 200 meters deep, you have no choice. So, you don't say divers. Here, when you have a choice, you're saying that, let's take the risk. Why? Today, if technology is available where somebody's sitting on the surface with gloves, and that has already been proven, right? A number of firms have made it. Somebody sitting on the surface is just moving his fingers, fully dexterous arms down below, replicating that the exact amount of pressure, the exact amount of, in fact, in so let's see the firms in Maker Village itself where iROV is there, right? Somebody from your mechanical robotic fingers were testing the smartphone screens, so that kind of a delicate touch. So replicating pressure, replicating the movement, replicating everything. If that is there, I would say, other than for recreational and pleasure driving, why do you need to dive? Especially when it is dangerous. So dirty, dangerous, dull tasks should be done by machines, not by humans, my view.
Definitely, it makes sense.
Does that answer the question?
It does. Any added thoughts by Nirmal sir or John's KP? Anyone?
Yeah, I think a few operational experiences also. I said couple of incidents where you have to dive. A couple of operations where we were actually part of. We had um, lost one of the asset at 80 meters of depth in one of the dams, and then it was difficult to send a human there, and then we had to send our ROV. We were airlifted, and then we deployed our ROV there, and then found out the helicopter as well as one of the first casualty also, and it would have been mostly impossible with a human diver at that time, because you have to bring a human diver, then you have to bring in the entire this chambers for decompression. All those systems as we brought in becomes a lot more cumbersome actually. So I see a lot of advantages of these systems when going into, as Arun sir said, larger depth at beyond 30-50 meters. Makes sense to deploy unmanned systems.
Yeah, so on the pro side, I think most points have been covered. So one of the, I think still, even though Arun sir has said one of the, I would say, the key capabilities of human underwater is one is on a human level, the dexterity is quite still high compared to any of the robotic systems. So that is one thing, it still prevails. So that I would say, what do you call us, on the go decision making and making changes. Particularly, I think this deep diving, except for the large salvage recoveries and all, most often is done for commercial diving, particularly into oil and gas industry. So where there is mostly industrial jobs to be done, like connecting flanges, weldings, or such see activities where the on the go human mind is employed. If something does not work out, another toolings, another systems are all employed immediately. So those thought process and that dexterity is something as of now, I believe so it is slowly taking over. As rightly said, I'm not denying it, machines have taken a lot more than that, but still that is some of the advantages where what I have seen is still, even if this been replaced by ROVs, there it is still a person is on the back of the system who is actually actively piloting. So the brain is still now working, but the dexterity part, I think it is still the work in progress that can catch up. Then that could be definitely a change maker and reduce a lot of risk involved for the diving community on the dangerous jobs. So it's not just to the open sea. Actually, in closed regions there is even more risks of suctions, getting trapped and escapement. So we actually have also actively work on many of the tunnel jobs where it's practically impossible to send, though it is fully water filled. You shouldn't be actually sending a person more than 50 meter or something into the pipes, because you have hardly any possibility if something goes, even that is riskier. So those are regions where you can reduce the risk of because there is no other option. You have to go either the robotic systems, and we have even deployed things which can go up to 10 kilometer on single go into pipes and tunnels. Yeah, that's there. Yeah, this is the thought process I'm having. Yeah, great.
Excellent. So, thing is, before we ask another question from online, or I have a question, but still, the audience here, is anyone here having any questions to the panel? At the count of one, two, yes, Sebastian.
Yes, Salma. So my question would be to Nirmal sir. Maybe he can answer it better. So what has been the biggest barrier for having a wider adoption of ROVs in naval or even commercial operations? And how do you feel that this is changing in this decade, or is it still, or how is it? Can I get it from Nirmal sir?
So can I just get the question again, please?
So, do you, do, I in opinion that there is still a huge barrier in adoption, wider adoption of ROVs in naval as well as in the commercial operations?
ROV is referring to the remotely operated underwater vehicle, the products which we are typically using for underwater inspection, surveillance, and all.
Yeah,
There's
no,
two.
see, I don't think, see, we do not have any such issues with respect to not using it. See, we have the only, I mean, if we have not bought something, because I'm not aware, I've not been involved with that particular activity for a long time now, but they were under consideration at one point in time to see how they can make our things easier. We would like to do repairs of ships when she's still floating rather than, bring each time there is some problem, we want to bring it to the dry dock. To avoid that, we've been looking at methods by which we can do such repairs in floating condition, for which the one option is of course the diver. But the problem with diver is, see, for him, it's not he doesn't have that required skills of welding and understanding the intricacies of those aspects. He will do a basic repair and get you so that the ship can get back to the harbor where it is to come and things like that. So there is no such thing. But problem with acquisition, as I see it, is that you see then when will happen is I'll have to train my man on it. I'll have to put some methods to do maintenance and everything. That means I mean, and in a thing wherein the officers are being transferred in short durations, sometimes that skill gets a little diluted with time. But I think there are methods by which we have rate contracts and those sort of things to get these things done. So it's not that we have anything against the ROV. We do use ROVs, but sometimes it isn't in this manner that we do it. Though ideally, we should acquire, have it in our the naval dockyards and all these things, wherein, or even with certain the operational authorities, with the fleet staff, so that whenever there is an emergency, we can use these things and deploy them quickly. But like I said, with the changing manpower, particularly of the uniformed personnel, sometimes it becomes difficult to retain the skill in the organization.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Ashish, sir, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, gentlemen, it was a very interesting discussion. Two teams, pros and cons. Very interesting. Anyway, so from whatever I could glean from the discussions, I've had several opportunities to deploy technology that you are all talking about in the past, and there were several lessons learned also, which I have from the past 15 years of working in the industry. So, Johns, my question is to you. You talked about deployment in a dam with 80 meters depth, where you had to look for a wreck, I believe, of an aircraft and also look for survivors.
Yes.
Now, one of the challenges that we have in such kind of waters is the turbidity, which decreases the visibility of the optics that you have on your ROV. Did you ever try to use PRC technology to overcome this limitation?
Okay. So I'm not sure PRC you refer to, is it something related to sonar?
No, it is PRC relates to photorealistic cloud.
Okay.
Which is a very efficient method that we are using for our underwater inspections nowadays.
Okay.
It gives you a ground truth georeferenced, geotagged location through the acoustic cloud that and photorealistic cloud that you can create underwater. So, have you tried it on your as a payload on your ROV?
Yes. So in most of Indian waters are generally murky, as you all know. And one of the challenges when we go for search and rescue application is this low visibility. And that's when we added one of the payload as a sonar, which is imaging sonar. It is a multi-beam imaging sonar. Basically works by acoustics, which is neither dependent on water clarity actually. So that's what we had used in this project as well, where we deployed high frequency imaging sonar, which gives us a range of up to 120 meters and the resolution would be low, but we can go up to even 40 meters and then you have a higher resolution acoustic image, and we use that to detect large debris underwater, and then we went closer with the cameras to verify that. So obviously if we had just camera alone, we couldn't have identified the wreck, but then of course we use sonar to identify large debris. Initially, there was a survey from the top, which is called side scan sonar survey, which got us all suspicious point. With the ROV, we went with the multi-beam imaging sonar, went to each of the suspicious locations, and because we had the imaging sonar, we were able to identify and more clearly whether it's a rock or is a part of a helicopter or even a human actually. And then we went closer and verified with the camera actually. And in fact, one of the things we did after that was when I was doing a demo with one of the forces also was not defense but one of the other MHA forces, was that one of the official was telling the sonar is very difficult to read. For a layman, it is difficult to read. So that's when we developed something very unique, which is AI based identification of humans or called as cadaver to identify these in underwater instead of rocks. So what we have done is we did a lot of training humans in underwater and then trained the sonar, and with our AI algorithms working on top of the sonar image, it can identify whether it is a human or is it a rock or some other objects actually. So in fact, we put this AI on top of the sonar images to read these kind of images from sonar outputs. So that's something we developed. But of course, in these murky waters, to answer to your point, we always use acoustic based systems. And now I think the next step is to create 3D clouds from acoustic images, and something that is also something which we are working towards actually.
If I can add
Yeah.
here, one of the IDEX print cases, TSC Technologies, I think their trials are also satisfactory in the systems being inducted, already been inducted. Um, uh, AI, you mentioned about AI for sonar, this thing, which of course helps, but a use of AI even for the image enhancement, removal of turbidity, something which is a sprint case, and already work has been done on that. Just a bit of input.
Great.
Yeah, these things are already proven several years ago, Johns, as you know.
Yeah.
And what I'm coming to is that the PRC technology has got enhanced in the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years. We have deployed it in 2019 with a very what do you call a very less resolution output which we got in 2019. And last year when I deployed a new technology driven source, we could get near real time exactly as if it is a photograph. You know, we got it so high resolution. So we are no longer using multi-beam for this. What I suggest is migrate to the PRC technology, which will be a much higher resolution. And instead of using a side scan sonar, I would recommend use a synthetic aperture sonar, which is a much better sensor than a side scan sonar, and a much higher resolution is obtainable, which is also proven now. I can give you case studies and I can give you experiments which we have done already, which we can discuss when we meet each other.
Sure.
Okay, so my suggestion is to move away from the multi-beam part into this kind of technology, so that you can focus more, you can with much less time on task, you can achieve much higher outputs, and there is no need to send a diver down at all. You can even do metrology on the PRC, excellent metrology, 1 centimeter accuracy you can get at 30 meters depth.
Wow.
Well taken. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well,
I taken. I think it's a good suggestion. I think.
definitely, yes.
I think that is what makes TechDive so special, because in the conversations comes up such kind of informative conversation which goes a long way, not just for us, but also for the people who are watching here. As it's just 1 minute away for 4 o'clock, let's take one last question from the online questions that are coming in, and we'll wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Melvin. One last question, please.
Yeah, we have a question like, is it possible to hack these systems, or is it any way to jam these systems?
Is it possible to hack these systems or jam these systems? The question can be open for anyone in the panel.
Yes. Yeah. So I think, yeah.
The cat and mouse game will always continue. People
Yeah.
will try and hack and people will try and protect, and that will go on.
Yes. Yeah, that's as I rightly said that. Yeah, though this war on system will definitely carry on. So there will be countermeasures and counter to counter. So yeah, that is an ongoing reality. But some of the things which we obviously also shared earlier is that, like, wired systems are still somewhat protected, but very much limited by the range. When it comes to wireless, yes, we need to work more and more on their encryptions, the way we can protect the data, and then yes, there will be some or the other
So,
means
so,
to
so
jump.
if
Yeah.
I was to accept your logic, then I would say that can the internet, if you're on the internet, can your PC be hacked? Yes. In which case, you should not use it. You should only use landlines. That
No,
of
see,
course it can
I
be hacked.
just given both.
Of course, it
Yes,
can be hacked.
yes,
That doesn't mean that you
yes,
don't use it.
yes, yes, yes. So definitely, yes, they have both the sides. Yes, all coin have both the
I
sides. So
think
yes,
we now rest the case with a perfect debate. Yeah,
yes.
go ahead, Nirmal sir.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Nothing more to add here.
Thank you so much, but I would request one, closing statement from all panel members, and especially something that you want everyone in the audience. And please note, we have a lot of young audience, and hence something that they can carry away from this session, something that you want to let them take away from here, from each one of you. And I would love to start with Nirmal sir.
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for inviting me to this tech drive. And I'm quite happy to have attended it and contributed in whatever small measures. Uh, for the young lot, particularly at EyeROV, what I feel is that it's a beautiful time to be in the robotics area, and there are no limits to it. And it just you need to work hard, be innovative, be open. Don't go by the standard beaten path. You be open to new ideas and new thoughts. Many times, simple thoughts provide you answers quickly than trying to make the thing complicated. Reminds me of the times in schools and all, when we used to do a lot of derivations and all these things. There would be each small problem somebody would find it to do it in a very roundabout manner, and in the end wasting a lot of time and energy and not reaching where you need to reach. So keep your thoughts simple, straightforward, and be innovative. And India is a great place to be in the current times. All the best to everyone. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Over to you, Arun sir.
Just one sentence. Uh, Somebody just said that there are always two sides to every coin. As in the year of 1976, Amitabh Bachchan in Sholay showed us that no, there can be coins with only the same thing on both the sides. I think this one is totally non-negotiable. The future is unmanned, and if not totally unmanned, man and man teaming. Uh, we can agree, we can disagree, but the writing's on the wall.
Arun sir,
Okay.
I have to tell you this. You have a big fan in me for your one-line statements and hard-hitting quotes that you're
I,
giving.
I will email you the autograph.
Please, it would be my pleasure. See, I take away with a brilliant thing from here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. And KP, for a closing statement from you.
Yes, so firstly, I really want to, thank again to Salma to bring us again in this panel, and particularly Nirmal sir and Arun Goel sir to, turn around in short notice. We just had few message conversations, and they quickly, agreed to part of this discussion over after having only one time only. I think I had a discussion with Nirmal sir on that. So yeah, it has been quite interesting. Yes, we have seen the perspective, and one I would before I make a closing remark, it has been quite difficult for me to be placed in this side of the bench. I told clearly to Salma also that okay, I am I am being forced into that which made me difficult, that I have to study more to come prepared for this side rather than saying the yes, which was the most natural way which I can do. Okay, whereas as one of the things, as an operational guy, which we say, I always faced in field also, is that yes, so as we are one of the, I would say, great advocates of underwater autonomous systems and robotic systems, we always encounter there are more and more natural challenges and operational challenges. But as rightly put also, what I am also foreseeing is that over the immediate future, that's going to be more of a hybrid world, where there will be machines reducing the human risk, but there will be brains which will be controlling them, so that we can take that step forward, and subsequently maybe by maybe 20 years down the line or something like that. That's what I'm foreseeing, that where there will be more of all autonomous. But yes, it's as rightly said, it's about the brain which makes that coding, then only that all autonomy will be actually trustable. So self learning is there being said, but to self learn, to reach that maturity, it should first learn from the existing system. So that cycle should go on. That's how the case is. Yes, I think I'm still holding on to my position in this talk and given the realistic closure. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So
Yes.
before I pass it on to Johns, I have to tell this, adding to what KP said, having a panel like such as this and trying to make a debate out of like-minded people, you know how I feel after a good conversation of debate. I'm sure everyone has seen that movie Castaway of Tom Hanks, where he stands finally and said, "I made fire," right? I literally feel like Tom Hanks right now because there was a healthy conversation of a slight debate with all these amazing four like minded people. So, thank you so much for tolerating me from the past 2 weeks. But having said that, that was a brilliant conversation. Over to you, Jones.
Yeah, so my concluding remarks is I think we all agreed on we need more unmanned systems to be built. And I think it's now India's time. As we say, our neighboring countries have been building a lot of systems and have gone. So we are at a critical time to build a lot of advanced systems. I think many more startups should come up in this sector. We have a lot of software startups in there, but we need more defense tech startups coming up, building technologies, making India proud. And I see for youngsters also joining these companies which might not look flashy at the beginning, but joining these startups, defense companies, startups to build the nation. I think these are some of the companies which build the nation over years. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And with that, we are not going to let you off easily, Johns and KP. But before that, thank you so very much, Arun sir, Nirmal sir, and also Ashish sir for being here. Tech Dive is a movement. And we need you not at just as a panel member or a speaker in one of the sessions. We need your support, we need your blessing, and we need your guidance in an ongoing series of this as we move forward. The dream for Tech Dive is one fine day very soon down the line we want to have a physical, in person, global event which is being hosted with all of you who have been our advocates. So, with that, before we let off, this is to KP and Johns. Johns and KP, we at the marketing team and EyeROV team, we've been trying to do something strategies to come up with somehow making you give us the sneak peek of the big announcement coming in. Come on, guys. You have to give us a sneak peek. It's Tech Dive. This is the time where you can actually go and say something, right? Go ahead. Do we get the sneak peek?
Yeah, I think we have a big announcement, but I think it's too early to say. We would take a couple of days more because it is going to be released in press. So you will have to wait, but something big we working with the defense.
KP,
Kannappa,
can the team give you some bribe, something to kind of take out some information out of you?
Yes,
Ananda, me, Melvin, and all are ready to give our next to you. So go ahead.
yeah, my mouth is sipped, so it is coming out soon. Yeah.
Yes, that's what we've got to deal with, guys. Next try a little bit later in the week. But with that, thank you so very much, all of you. Tech Dive is always, always a pleasure to have all of you here. All of the attendees, the non IROV team members, and leaving the panel members, please do expect a call from our team members. What we do after the event is to make sure that we call you up. We ask you how the session was, but we'll also float a feedback form. Melvin, could you just put it in the chat? If you have 2 more minutes, please click on the form and fill the form right away. But we will call you, have a talk with you, take feedback, healthy feedback and difficult ones, and keep improvising. And also ask you if you want to know a little bit more about IROV, because we are here to help you understand better. Because we at IROV come with deep values. Thanks to Zulfikar. Zulfikar, I'm going to vouch for you for today. Non-stop camera, serious concentration on all conversations, and our values in your background. I think that's what shows the pillar of the team member that you are. So with that, please expect a call from the team and show up. These are once a month series. The next month will be announced, and we're going back to a keynote, which will be even more exciting. But thank you so much, Nirmal sir and Arun sir. Brilliant session. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the knowledge. And please keep blessing us with your presence in the ongoing session.